Hi there, welcome to my studio. My name is Siobhan. This is Art Skills Online. This is where I post videos related to figure drawing and specifically how you can develop your own expressive and dynamic style of drawing through drawing the figure. I post videos every week about my process or about tips and tutorials for developing your technique. So if you're interested in figure drawing, then consider subscribing so that we can stay in touch. So today I want to talk a little bit about the differences between drawing from photo and drawing from life. Recently in one of my online drawing groups, somebody asked the question, is drawing from a photo the same as drawing from life? And a lot of people were saying that if you're drawing from a video of the model where the model is filmed for the entire pose, then that's the same as drawing from life. For me though, even if you're drawing the model from a video where it's timed, the pose is timed fully throughout, you're still really only drawing the flattened 2D version of the model. And that just can never be the same as drawing from life, as being in the same room. But that's not to say that drawing from a photo is better or worse than drawing from life. It simply means that it's a completely different experience. You might actually end up with the same drawing more or less if you're drawing from a photo as drawing from life, but the way you get there, the way you arrive, and your whole process of drawing is completely different in both approaches. And that really comes down to two main considerations. The first one is that drawing from life is actually much more difficult than drawing from a photo. A photo is easier because things are already flattened out in a 2D visual plane. And so that means it's a lot easier to judge things like proportion and scale and shape. When you're drawing from a photo, you're already drawing from a very defined composition. You don't really have to worry about composing your image on the page. You can just simply match the model or match the pose in the picture plane to your drawing. And for beginners, that's often one of the hardest things to do, is to try and compose the full figure to fit onto one page. Another reason why drawing from photo is easier is because you can take your time. The photo isn't going anywhere. If you're drawing from a video, you can pause it and just spend as long as you want on that pose. And also you don't have to contend with things like the model moving. If you are in a live drawing session and you're really getting into your drawing and you're making great progress, and then suddenly the model breaks the pose or starts talking, that can be super frustrating. Another challenge that often comes up in a live figure drawing class is that you just don't get a nice pose, or you don't get a nice view of the pose. So all of these things might sound a bit silly, but they are actually very real challenges that are there all the time. If you've ever been to a live figure drawing class, you'll know exactly what I mean. You really have to try and push through all of these and make a drawing in spite of them. The second reason why drawing from a photo is just a vastly different experience is because when you're drawing from life, you really have to use gesture in your whole body to try and draw the pose that you see. If you've watched any of the videos on this channel, you'll know that I place huge importance on gesture as being, the core of your approach to figure drawing. And when you're drawing from life, this is really, really important. Drawing from a photo, more often than not, you're sitting down. You're only really drawing from your wrist or forearm, whereas in a figure drawing class, you're standing up, you're drawing on a much larger scale. When you're standing up, you've simply just got a lot more access to your own energy, and that's something that has a huge effect on the dynamic quality and the confidence in your line work. So since March of this year, I've posted videos of figure drawing where I've used online resources such as New Masters Academy and Line of Action. And I realized recently that this year was actually the first time that I ever drew the model from photo. Up until this year, I've only ever drawn the model from life. And I think I avoided drawing from photo reference because I thought that it just wouldn't give me the kind of result that I was looking for with my drawing style. But I have to say it's been a really interesting experience to learn and understand the difference between drawing from life and drawing from photo. And I would say that drawing from photo has actually really helped me to improve my drawing because of these differences that I've been talking about. So there's no distractions, I can spend as long as I want with the photo, I don't have to worry about scale and proportion too much, and that's allowed me to actually focus on the areas of my drawing that were lacking a little bit, and those were technique and structure and anatomy. So taking away some of the challenges and difficulties that are kind of inherent in drawing the figure from life has actually helped me so much this past year in my own drawing. So for me, both approaches to drawing the figure are equally valid, equally important drawing practices. It's much harder for me to capture the dynamic quality of the model or the gesture when I'm drawing from a photo, but at the same time, drawing from a photo has allowed me to actually focus in on trying to correct my anatomy, scale and proportion, and focus on my technique. So an analogy that I like to think of to distinguish these two ways of approaching figure drawing is to think of a musician. Say if you're a musician and you're recording a studio album. In the studio, you've got complete control over your equipment, your musical instruments. Everything is pretty much under your control. And that's kind of like drawing from a photo. You know, you can have as much control as you want over some of the variables. Say you wanted to go outdoors and play that album live in front of an audience or at like a concert or a gig or something. You know, you've got a lot less control. You don't have control over the weather. You don't have control necessarily over your audience. And, you know, things could go wrong in a live setting. And that's like drawing from life. That's the way I think about it anyway. It might be useful to you or helpful to you for you to think about it like that. So I hope this video was helpful and has sort of cleared up some of the distinctions around these two ways of approaching figure drawing. Please let me know in the comments below what you think, if you've got a preferred way of approaching your drawing, if you prefer to draw from photo reference where you've got a lot more control, or you prefer to draw from life where you don't have as much control over your subject and over sort of all of the variables. So let me know, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed already, then please do that so that we can stay in touch. and I'll look out for you in the next video.